It is 6:30 on February 3rd. We are going to start the meeting, call this meeting to order for our invocation tonight. Mayor Pro Tem Smith, would you mind?
Absolutely. Please join me and stand. Close your eyes. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this evening, Lord. Thank you for all that you provide for us, both locally, regionally, and up and down the state and across the United States, Lord. There's so much governing happening, and it is so crucial that we keep in mind the importance of what we do every day. Thank you for everything that you provide for us and sharing the light at the end of every tunnel for us. And in your name, amen.
Amen. Councilmember Smith, would you mind doing the flag salute for us?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm sorry, I was looking at you, but I was looking at Dale.
Dale,
Dale.
go ahead, Dale.
Okay, ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Madam Clerk, could you please conduct the roll call?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Aaron-Kranz.
Here.
Councilmember Green.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Welty.
Here.
Mayor Castillo.
Here.
All present.
Wonderful. Mr. City Attorney, is there anything to report out of closed session?
There is nothing to report out of closed session.
Okay. As to the approval of the City Council agenda, Mr. City Manager, are there any changes?
No changes.
Okay, I need a motion and a second to approve the
Motion.
agenda.
Make motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, and a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Aaron-Kranz.
Aye.
Councilmember Green.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Welty.
Aye.
Mayor Castillo.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. As to ceremonial matters, tonight we have a proclamation for former council member Michael Nagar. He is obviously not present tonight, but we would like to recognize him nonetheless. I know that council member Aaron-Kranz has history with this particular council member from the city of Temecula. Would you mind giving a couple words?
No, I'd be delighted to. I'm sorry that he's not here to accept it. We understand the reasons why. Mike, if I may, we served on a couple of committees together over the years. He was very, very active. And WRCOG, we were quite proud of some of the things that he brought forward to our committee. He certainly would be known as probably Mr. Temecula. I think he was on the city council for 20-some years, I believe, which of course is a record as far as we're concerned. But this proclamation is well-deserved, and we're going to miss him, but I guess he served his time, and we certainly thank you for your service, and I know Temecula is very proud of him as well. So thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for those words. We also have a Citizen of the Month for the month of February. She is not present. She was called away out of state on business. Our Citizen of the Month for the month of February is Sabrina Alt. And we have a certificate of recognition for her efforts in fostering a sense of community and promoting the holidays during a different and difficult time in Canyon Lake. If you don't know Sabrina Alt, that would surprise me. She is very active in our community, and she is the individual who initiated Canyon Lake Halloween Town and the contests, the various decorating contests for Canyon Lake's Halloween Town, as well as Canyon Lake Holiday Home contest. I believe there was an interior Christmas tree contest. There was obviously different outside decoration contests. Some of the contests were very well, entered. Lots of competition this year, which was awesome because I think not only do the adults in Canyon Lake need some kind of positive outlet, but it was obviously very joyful for the children in Canyon Lake, especially during a pandemic when they were missing out on school parties with their friends, etc. Some of those gatherings that didn't take place were substituted very well by the efforts of Sabrina Alt. And so for those reasons, this council would like to recognize her. We are sad that she is not able to attend today to receive her certificate in person, but we are grateful for you, Sabrina, and we'd like to say continue the awesome work in Canyon Lake because your efforts have not gone unnoticed. Okay, moving on. I'm so excited about this. We have our new fire consultant, interim fire chief today, and our city manager is going to introduce him.
Yes, this is very exciting. So on November 4th, the City Council voted to move forward with the formation of a City of Canyon Lake Fire Department. Our first big task following that vote was to identify an individual who could join our team and lead the effort to get that department put together, to get it up and running, and to serve as our interim fire chief. So we started the search right away. We put together a job posting and spread it far and wide. Not really entirely sure what kind of response to expect. Turns out we received really a phenomenal response. A lot of positive feedback within the fire community. We ended up with 38 good applications. Of those 38, we invited the top 6 most qualified to participate in an interview. We put together an interview panel. I'm very proud of the participation regionally on that panel. It was a 7-member panel. I served on it. We had the assistant city managers for the city of Lake Elsinore and the city of Wildemar on the panel. We had the county assistant executive officer in charge of public safety. So he's one step below the county CEO, and he handles public safety issues for the county. He was on the panel. We had the fire chief from the city of Murrieta on the panel. And then, of course, the 2 members of the city council, Mayor Pro Tem Smith and Councilman Green, who serve on the fire ad hoc committee, were on that panel as well. And we interviewed those 6 candidates, and we had some strong applicants there. But the individual that is here to be introduced tonight really stood out early in the process. His background and experience, over 30 years of experience in the fire service, starting from basically an explorer, just volunteer level, working his way up all the way to fire chief. He retired in 2017 as fire chief for the city of Laguna Beach. As part of this application process, I personally made phone calls to check references, and I wish everyone in the community could hear those conversations and how glowing those recommendations were. In particular, I found a lot of meaning in my conversation with the city manager of Laguna Beach, who just sang his praises and told me what a hard worker he is, how he's hands-on, a nuts and bolts kind of a guy, well-liked in the community, works well with city staff and with the council. And that really came through in his interview, too, the way he presented himself. I just think this community is going to really like him. And I feel absolutely confident that we found the right guy. So with that, it is definitely my pleasure to introduce our new interim fire chief, Jeff Latendresse.
Oh, yeah. Welcome.
Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council, staff. First, Mr. Mann, thank you for that incredible presentation. I've been working at this for a very long time. I feel very confident in my experience as a firefighter. I started my career at the age of 17. I served my country as a firefighter. I volunteered as a paid call firefighter for Apple Valley. My first real job as a firefighter paramedic was here in Riverside County for the city of Indio. It was in that community where I met my lovely wife, and I was able to make her part of my journey. I left there, went over to Cathedral City, promoted again. I left there as the battalion chief fire marshal. And while I was there, I got the Mayor's Award of Excellence for implementing a disaster preparedness community response program in that community. That was the days before CERT, and we called it NEST, Neighborhood Emergency Response Teams. And I'm very committed to bringing the community involved in the services that we provide. From there, I went over to Cathedral City, where I served 20 years, and the last 5 of those were as a fire chief. I retired in 2017, and you know what? I realized I missed being involved in the community. I missed being a firefighter. My son went and became a firefighter for Los Angeles County. And you know what? Just to have the ability to stand side by side with my son as a firefighter is the most amazing thing that you can ever think of. So now I want to bring that talent, that skill, that motivation, and that desire and do something very few people really get to do. Start a fire department from the beginning, from scratch. When I was in Cathedral City, our fire department was only 18 months old. So I was almost there at the beginning, and the people that we had at a brand new fire department was incredible because you're able to pick your entire team. I believe that's what we're going to be able to do here for Canyon Lake. We're going to bring in experienced, qualified, well-trained people. We're going to get new equipment. We're going to have a beautiful facility that we're going to work on and make our own, and we're going to be proud of our service to the community. And with that being said, during that transition period, we will continue to have the outstanding service that you experience today from CAL FIRE Riverside County and from AMR. You'll see no change. And we hope that when we start on January 2nd, that the change will be seamless. You won't even really notice a difference other than it will say Canyon Lake Fire Department on the side of the fire engine. The same level of training, the same commitment, everything that you get today, you'll be having by the Canyon Lake Fire Department. So I'm honored, I'm humbled, I'm excited, I'm ready to go to work. I've been working with the staff now for 3 days, and they're an incredible staff to work with. I'm honored to be part of the team, and I look forward to serving you and the community of Canyon Lake. So thank you.
Awesome. Any comments from the council?
Welcome. How long were you chief of Laguna?
Almost 5 years, sir.
5 years. Okay. So you came from Cathedral City to Laguna?
Yeah, I took a lateral over. I came over as a captain from, I started as a captain in Laguna Beach, and then I worked my way up from battalion chief, division chief, deputy chief, and then fire chief.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All I've been hearing is your praises have been sung for the last couple of weeks, I think, right now. And I'm certainly happy to know that you're going to be our chief. All the wonderful things that I've heard about you, I can't wait to interact with you. So welcome to the city of Canyon Lake.
Thank you very much, sir.
Welcome aboard. It's good to see you. I wish I could see you without your mask. I know I could run into you on the street and I wouldn't recognize you, unfortunately, but hopefully in a couple months those days will be over. Anyway, thank you for coming aboard. Obviously, if you need anything, Chris Mann is great to work with. He's happy to bring whatever he can to bear to help you as you do your development of the equipment and the development of the men. So I just want to say to the two of you, I think you'll make a great team. So thank you.
Thank you. Just so you know, there's a mustache underneath.
Yeah, that's right. No, I saw the video. Congratulations, Chief. Seriously, we're blessed to have you.
Thank you very much, sir.
And I would just like to say, this is a major point of pride for Canyon Lake, something new and bold, and we're really looking forward to seeing great things. So thank you so much for coming aboard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Awesome. Anything else? Okay, well, thank you so much. Moving on to a presentation by our city clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So over the last year, this has become a little bit of a tradition at our council meetings in which we honor council members for their birthdays. So in January, we had a birthday, Councilman Welty, January 28th. So on behalf of city staff, we just wanted to say happy birthday. We hope you had a beautiful quarantine birthday with your family. And we just have a little gift for you here. Happy belated birthday.
Thank you very much for this. Wow, I was kind of surprised. I don't know if I can cut this into 12 pieces or not, but thank you all. Appreciate
See,
it.
we
It
do
was
like
it was
you.
good, considering it was a good birthday.
Wonderful. Well, feliz cumpleaños. Moving on to community reports, we have, I believe, on the line Director Darcy Burke from Elsinore Valley Municipal Water District.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So there's quite a few things going on at the Water District right now. One of the things that I think you'll all be interested in is today we heard about an agreement that we're going to enter in with the consultant for the salt and nutrient management plan that is required by the Regional Water Quality Control Board. And I bring it to the council tonight because this is the first time ever a cooperative agreement with the Regional Water Quality Control Board anywhere in the state and a water district has come into an agreement to work on other methods and monitoring to avoid having to build a $50 million desalination plant. So we've been able to move that project along for the last 5 years. This will be the next phase of monitoring for 3 years. The total cost of that monitoring program is a little over $900,000, but we're sharing that cost with Eastern. So for about a $500,000 investment, we avoided a $50 million expense. So I'm really excited about that. Whether the council may be aware of it or not, as we were going through our budget process, and our budget workshops will continue for the next 4 months, and I encourage people to Zoom in. Actually, it's a WebEx. They can participate. We would like to hear what people think. But one of the things that was brought to our attention that Southern California Edison has a rate package currently in front of the California Public Utilities Commission for a 21% increase next year, immediately followed by a 12% increase the year after. For us as a water district, energy is one of our most expensive charges related to moving water. We have a number of what we call pressure zones because there's elevations throughout our service area. So this increase impacts our ratepayers by millions of dollars. It also impacts Canyon Lake residents as we're an electric community. So if you have not gone onto the California PUC website, they tell you how you can actually voice your opinion and weigh in on that hearing process. I also wanted to point out, if you go to Edison International's webpage, you'll see that their dividends have doubled in the last 10 years, and they have consistently paid out every quarter regardless of the current circumstances. So it's just something to be aware of. I'm not sure if the council is aware, or residents, that in the early 90s, Elsinore Valley Water District bought the Temescal Canyon Water District, which is up the road off the 15. And with that purchase came ownership of water rights and water in a groundwater basin in San Bernardino County. We actually cover and serve areas of Orange County, San Bernardino County, and Riverside County. And that water in San Bernardino is really a stranded asset. We don't have a pipeline to directly bring it down to the residents of our service area. So we were able to broker an agreement with Western, who's going to buy that water from us for $1 million a year. And this is new money, and we've actually put a stranded asset to work to help offset some of the related expenses that we're looking at, including energy costs and that type of thing. So that's something I'm very excited about. In the past, Western was able to access that money, and it was kind of a trade-off, but now they're actually getting to pay for it. So that's something very exciting. As you may be aware, shut-offs for non-payment are still in a moratorium state per the governor. And as a result, we estimate that the impact to our budget is going to be $2.5 million by the end of June. We have realized cost savings in over $1 million, and we've been able to try and collect some of that money. So we're hoping at the end of June we'll have better news. But that's $2.5 million directly out of the pockets of the ratepayers that did pay. And there's really no equity there. It's, in our mind, it's a gift of public funds, which is a gift, Prop 218, but the governor's office so far has turned a deaf ear towards that. So obviously we want to work with people that are struggling. We want to set up payment plans. If they're eligible for our rate assistance program, we want them to sign up. There's some other programs that our staff has found through the county that can help pay utility bills. We're trying to do everything we can to work something out that's equitable. We just want to make sure that it's not on the backs of our other ratepayers. If you've been paying attention the last few days, you may have noticed the lake is spilling, so the lake is full. I'd say most of residents in Canyon Lake are happy about it, but I have heard from some that would like us to lower the lake, and I'm sorry, I cannot do that right now. PFAS sampling. We had identified 42 areas to take samples when the rains came, working on our case to identify that the source of the water contamination in Canyon Lake is from March Air Force Base. So far, we've been able to sample 37 of the 42 sites, and we're working to finish the last 5 before the end of the rainy season. I think that's all I have. I'm happy to take any questions.
Councilmember Green?
Darcy, this is Councilman Larry Green. Since you've identified the generator of contamination being March Air Force Base, isn't there a cost recovery that goes with that?
Councilman Green, you're absolutely right. Typically there is. But interestingly enough, March Air Force Base determined on their own study that they were not responsible. So then the burden comes on us to prove to determine that we didn't just put this in the lake. The other unique part about it is they have made payouts to Western Municipal and Eastern Municipal for groundwater contamination for PFAS, but nothing on surface water. And as far as we know, we are the only surface drinking water reservoir in the state, if not the country, that is contaminated with PFAS. So our struggle is kind of uphill. We have to do our homework and make sure everything is I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. But normally, Councilman Green, you're 100%, and that's what we're looking for: cost recovery for treatment or removal.
Okay. Is there any way that those areas that are creating that are identified? Probably it is Salt Creek or San Jacinto. That basins could be set up to catch some of those pollutants?
First, we have to determine if that's where it's coming from or directly down another pathway from March Air Force Base. So the protocol to mitigate against that, we're actually working with a gentleman who won an international award for his research on PFAS, Issam Najim. And whatever he probably tells us we need to do, we'll do a pilot and figure it out. But first, we have to verify that that's where it's coming from. And if it's only one source versus the other, then the application for mitigation may be different.
Okay, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Any other questions from council?
Director Berg, this is Jeremy Smith. How are you this evening?
I'm well, thank you.
Thank you so much for the update and the information. You had mentioned, I believe, year one was looking at a 21% increase. Year two, a 12% is what's being thrown around.
That's correct.
Did staff put together an idea of what that would cost to the ratepayer? Just, I know it's everyone's water bill is different, but an average of $20 more. Any idea on that?
Actually, we're in the middle of our rate study right now, so that'll be part of it. I don't think the rate study will be ready for board review until March.
Okay.
And he's run a number of scenarios. So once I know what the dollar impact will be, I'll absolutely bring that back.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Any other questions? Hearing none. Thank you so much, Director Burke.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. I believe on the line we also have Canyon Lake Property Owners Association President Chris Poland.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Mayor Castillo, council members, staff. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you again this month. Our monthly meeting is actually next week, so I'm going to be talking a little bit about things that we're going to be considering and working on right now. We've got some projects coming up, getting ready for the summer, and also our mailbox lighting project has been in a test phase and seems to be very successful and welcomed by the community. We're also going to be talking about our rehabilitation of our golf course irrigation system, which should save quite a bit of water. And we're still working on our 28-day revisions for our street parking rules, and that's going to be talked about. And we're in the process of formalizing our plans for our April election. February 8th will be the notice of intent runs will become available, forms will become available, and those are due on March 11th. And then, of course, the campaigns and the campaign signs and all that will start soon thereafter. Ballots will be mailed on April 12th, and we'll have our annual meeting of members on May 13th, with a follow-up on May 15th, if necessary, as we've done in the past. One thing a little bit different this year is we are going to post a number of ballot initiatives. We're working toward modernizing some of our bylaws. We're looking again at asking our community if they would approve 4-year terms for our directors. The reason for the 4-year terms, of course, is to get more consistency in leadership and also to allow us to hold elections every other year. We think it's also going to encourage people to run once and then be able to serve for 4 years. Since we have eliminated the ability to do proxy voting and cumulative voting, these elections are very important, and we hope we're going to get the long-term leadership for our community that we need. We're also going to ask the community to allow us to delegate the CEO role from the president to the general manager when it's appropriate. We're going to be updating some of our spending and borrowing limits and looking for those numbers to be updated that haven't been updated since the 90s. We plan to hold our budget workshop later this month. That's a workshop. The budgets are pretty much put together in draft forms. As you guys know very well, costs are up. Pressures are on our reserves. We've got some issues with our road reserves. So we've got 37 miles of roads to take care of, and it's an expensive proposition. Probably the lively portion of the meeting is going to be a discussion about political flags. This is something that we've been waiting for things to settle down somewhat nationally before we have this conversation. We've received many, many emails and comments, and I'm sure you have too, about political flags, posters, banners, both in the community property and on private property. Because we are a mutual benefit nonprofit corporation and we're governed under the laws of the state of California through the Davis-Sterling Act, we are permitted to regulate to some extent the size and appearance of the flags, signs, banners, and posters that can be posted, and the length of time that they can be put up. Based on our CC&Rs, we can do that on our community property very easily. When it comes to the private property, it really comes down to a question about appearance, aesthetics, and what impact it has on the life of our community. So we're going to have a discussion. We're going to find out what our members have to say, and we will go forward from there with any regulations that we think are appropriate. That's what I have to say. If there's any questions, I'll be very happy to answer them.
Thank you so much. Any questions from the council? No? Thank you so much, Chris. Look forward to seeing you again soon. So, Chamber of Commerce update from Jeannie Odell.
I am here. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Great. Hey, Dale, if you don't want that birthday cake, I know somebody who'll take it.
I'll try to make it to the car.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for this opportunity to give you a little update on the chamber activities. We, of course, have been working very hard on our membership drive, and I'm pleased to announce that it's been pretty successful. I'd like to announce that we have a new director of membership, and the name's going to be familiar to most of you. She is Kelly Welty. She's been in the community for a long time, so she's going to be helping us with our membership drive. I'd also like to announce from Sonia Kent, who's our director of community events, that we're working on a couple of community events for March and April. Our first event is going to be a virtual business bingo, and more information will be coming out on that shortly. But essentially, it's going to be a virtual bingo card. People go and visit the businesses, they get a stamp, get 5 in a row, and they're going to get a prize. So we're trying to promote some visits to our local businesses. We also would like to host a restaurant week sometime in April, and we need to reach out to our restaurant owners and work out those details. So once again, look for some announcements coming through our social media. For those of you who haven't been to our website lately, I encourage you to go to canyonlakechamber.org. A lot of work has been put into it, and I think it's looking really good and really professional. So for those of you who wish to join the chamber, you can click on our join button and submit your application. All online now. Then also thanks to our director of member events, which is Joseph DeCasperis, we're looking at some virtual ribbon cuttings for some of our new businesses in the center. We've got Frozen in Time Cryo, we've got Champion Trophy, we've got a Smoker's Choice, and a couple of other ones. So as you can well imagine, with COVID restrictions, these ribbon cuttings have been a little challenging, but we have found a way to do it virtually. So we will be inviting each of the the council members to join us. We're also working with Casey, Theo, and Tyler to get our installation of our director's schedule. So that's kind of what we've got going on right now. So it's been a pretty busy month. So if anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to take them.
Any questions? Exciting stuff from the chamber? No? Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Jeannie. We appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
You
I'm
too.
watching you. Bye.
Okay, so moving on to our public safety update from the Riverside Sheriff's Department, we have Lieutenant Rails.
Good
Hi.
evening, Mayor. Mayor Pro Tem, city managers, and city staff. I have the public safety report covering the month of January 2021. Deputies generated 387 calls for service, which is down from December's 391. During the month of January, there were 13 Part 1 crimes reported in the city of Canyon Lake. That would be 5 aggravated assaults, which are domestic related, 4 burglaries, 4 thefts, and 2 motor vehicle thefts. That's up slightly from the month of December, but down from November, so it's right in the middle. Also during the month of January, deputies made no public intoxication arrests. They wrote 3 traffic citations, made 2 DUI arrests, investigated 4 traffic collisions, and made overall 17 arrests in the city. A lot of those arrests were warrants and related to crimes from prior that were being investigated.
Okay.
Besides that, volunteer program is moving along. I think we have 3 in the background process right now, so that's good. Hopefully we can get a few more, get the residents excited about it, and I think once they see volunteers out there, we'll start getting a few more. Working on Explorers right now also, so that's moving along.
Okay.
Besides that, new captain could not make it tonight. He's actually being presented with a proclamation in the city of Norco because he left there, and that's at the same time as this meeting. So he will be here next month to introduce himself.
Outstanding.
Yeah. Any questions on the
I do
public
have
safety side?
some. The burglaries, were they vehicle burglaries or residential?
Vehicle. The reason this is up, everything was actually fairly low. About a week ago, we had about, I believe, 4 or 5 either vehicle burglaries or vehicle thefts from vehicles. And the only thing that's the difference is that if one's locked, if the vehicle's locked, it becomes a burglary. If it's not locked, it's a theft. So just to the residents, make sure you're not leaving stuff in your vehicles. Make sure you lock your vehicles. Don't leave anything of value in sight, because that's usually what happens. I think the deputy that morning took 4 or 5 reports back to back, so it was in the same area.
So was that a random, or was it located in like east to west?
It was random. It was more random because it was kind of spotty. So I think someone was probably riding around on a bike or walking through the community, checking door handles on cars, seeing if there was anything inside of value, and then just a crime of opportunity.
Okay.
Any other questions? I did want to let you know, on Monday I received a message from a resident, and I thought it was a great message, so I wanted to share it with you. The resident messaged me and said, on Saturday night, 2 RSO deputies responded to a welfare check on her street. Her neighbor had left all her doors open and weren't responding to the neighbors. The responding deputies were awesome, very professional, very kind to her, very nice to us. Just wanted you to know, Canyon Lake is a great place. I love getting messages like this, and I wanted to make sure that you were aware of this.
No, I appreciate it. Whenever we hear that, that's an awesome thing. A lot of deputies are doing their job. And you will notice that on the 28th, we had shift change. So some of your deputies that were working day shift are now working night shift, and vice versa. Could be maybe one change in there. But that's the reason you're not seeing them out there right now, and it's kind of a change.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else, anything? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to fire. Is Chief Barnett on the line?
Yes, I am. Good evening, council and staff. I'd like to say congratulations on the selection of the fire chief tonight, and I look forward to working with him for a successful transition to your new fire department. So congratulations. For the month of January for the city of Canyon Lake, there were 78 calls for service. 5 of those were false alarms, 63 medical emergencies, 1 other type fire, 6 public service assists, and 3 traffic collisions. There was also 4 calls that were over a 10-minute response. 2 of those were due to stage calls working with the sheriff's office for clearance for the call. And one of those incidents was a bonfire, unknown type fire. That's the unknown type that was an extended access issue, and then a remote area traffic collision. So basically an off-road vehicle accident, and that was the other extended ETA call. The one thing I did notice tonight is somehow we managed to miss getting the Engine 60 report attached to the monthly stats. For that, Engine 60 had 91 calls for the month, 48 in Canyon Lake, 15 in the city of Lake Elsinore, 7 into Menifee, 1 into the city of Paris, 1 into Wildemar, and 19 into the county area. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Is there any questions from the council? No? Thank you so much for calling in. We appreciate it, and thank you for your service. Okay, moving on. I do not see Ruby Manzano. Is she calling in?
We do not have a verbal report from code enforcement tonight, but you will see stats in front of you. Okay.
Okay. Yes.
This is for staff. It's just the addition, highlight down at the bottom. Fire inspection and residential inspections are postponed. Is that including all the inspections here in the center that were pending?
I wish Senior Code Enforcement Officer Ruben Manzano could be here to answer that tonight. My understanding, though, is that the inspections that could be done under the current conditions have been done. There are some that the businesses are not open right now,
Okay.
and there's some vacant spaces and situations like that that we have to kind of wait until we get past COVID to continue those.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And are we monitoring the opening of Pepe's?
Monitoring.
Like making sure that exit signs are up and all that? prior to
I'm sure we will do an inspection there, too, yeah. And
Okay.
the
Yeah.
building department will.
Because I believe that facility's been closed ever since we had embarked on our inspection program, and I had noticed personally when I was in there prior to us getting the code, that there were some potential concerns.
Yeah, no, we'll definitely be taking a look, and, they'll have to apply for the permit as well. so,
And I
yeah.
would imagine that's probably their condition for opening anyway.
Yeah.
So, okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Only thing I would note on this report is it looks like there was a camping violation and a fire on BLM land for which citations were issued. Yikes, I do not like camping or fires in the BLM land.
Yes, there are good reasons why we have that MOU with the BLM to patrol out there.
Right. Please don't light fires in the BLM land.
Please don't.
Please, please. Okay, so moving on to public comments. Are there any public comments?
Thank you. Any person wishing to address the city council on any matter within the jurisdiction of the city, whether or not it appears on this agenda, is asked to submit their comment electronically by sending an email to publiccomment@canyonlakeca.gov. Please note that I will be accepting email comments during this meeting in real time. If you're commenting on an item on the consent calendar or on items not on the agenda, I will read the emailed submissions into the record during the public comments portion of the agenda. If you're commenting on a business item or public hearing, I will read the emailed submissions into the record at the time that particular item is scheduled on the agenda. During this period of social distancing, electronically submitted comments should be no more than 250 words and include the person's name and agenda item number. We do have 2 comments tonight, and they are both for business item number 5, so I'll be reading those at that time.
Okay. All right, consent calendar. Would you please read the consent calendar statement?
All items listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine matters, status reports, or documents covering previous city council action. The items listed on the consent calendar may be enacted in one motion. With the concurrence of the city council, a council member may request that an item be removed for further discussion. Staff recommends approval of all items.
Do any of the council members have any items they would like pulled from the consent calendar? Hearing none, I need a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar.
So moved.
Second.
And a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Aaron Kranz. Councilmember Green.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Welty.
Aye.
Mayor Castillo.
Aye.
Motion carried to approve the consent calendar.
Moving right along. Business items. Number 5 on our agenda is an ordinance. I believe there's a staff presentation on this.
There is, Madam Mayor. Thank you. I'd like to ask the city attorney to make the presentation on this item.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Thank you, Mayor and Council. What you have in front of you is essentially a fix. We had addressed our our purchasing ordinance about a year ago, and we were going through it looking for some very specific issues that we were dealing with at the time. We've come across a situation now where when we were looking at the exceptions to the competitive bidding requirement for the city, that is the requirement that the city do the competitive bidding itself, we had some inconsistent language that simply came back from the original adoption of the ordinance. So you find those in section 308-270. So if you look at A, this was what we call the sole source exception, right? So this is where the thing we're looking to purchase is only, and that can be an item, it can be a service, it can whatever. It only comes from one place. So if that's the case, why are we going to put out a competitive bid for it? There's only one person selling that particular item. But the language there said commodity. So it limited us. So for example, if, I've seen this where we're looking at warranty services or specific kind of services to upkeep something we've already bought, the language didn't allow us to sole source in those circumstances. So we've changed the language to materials, supplies, equipment, and services, which is the exact same language that we use elsewhere in the ordinance to cover all the possible things that we may desire to purchase in a sole source environment. The other section that we updated was commonly called the piggybacking section. So this is where we would like to purchase something, say a fire engine, and we don't want to have to go out and put out a bid to buy our fire engine. People buy fire engines all the time. Other local entities or through cooperative agreements like NJPA, currently known as Sourcewell. So what it said was goods or commodities. Is a fire engine a good or a commodity? Maybe I'll have to check my uniform commercial code. But we thought better to just be very clear that we can buy anything our code allows us to buy anything that we need without going through our competitive bidding process if another government entity has already done the same exact competitive bidding process. We can just piggyback off of that. Now, a couple of the comments, I've gotten the privilege of previewing them, so I hope to answer those concerns during my presentation, are questioning whether we're trying to evade competitive bidding for public works contracts. No, right? This is an exception to our own ordinance. This does not give us any exception to requirements that exist under state law, right? So whatever requirements exist under state law, we're still going to have to comply with. In particular, one of the programs that we are looking at, and it is mentioned in the staff report why we want to bring this forward on an urgency basis, is because there is a procurement method utilizing the piggybacking procedures where we go through one of our cooperative purchase agreements, in this case NJPA or Sourcewell, and we are able to access a program called Easy IQC. I think I got the letters in the correct order. It's essentially called job order contracting. And so this is essentially a form of pre-qualification and pre-bidding for an entire list of very common small repairs, modifications, construction work through what's called a construction task catalog. And what you've essentially done is your cooperative purchase partner, Sourcewell, has already competitively bid a long list of construction tasks using local labor, local contractors in Southern California, okay? And so they've already gone through the competitive bidding process for these relatively straightforward tasks. And rather than going out and doing a whole design, bid, build on fixing a wall, right? It's already been bid. It already has been competitively awarded through our through our cooperative agreement partner, and we can simply use a job order contract based on that. So I hope that that addresses the concerns that we're getting in from the public. There was a concern that we're going to use this to buy roofing supplies and then have our staff do roof repairs. I would enjoy that personally, watching the city manager go up on the roof and do it. I think he would do an amazing job. I don't know if our insurer would be happy with him going up there. But obviously, we don't have the staff to do these things in-house. And then the other concern I had heard was from somebody who, looked at that we're amending the exceptions to competitive bidding and thought that we were trying to evade competitive bidding for public works contracts, which is simply not the case. Anything that is a requirement of state law, we're still going to have to follow. And I think that for a city of Canyon Lake size, a program like this, which is administered through NJPA, Sourcewell, and Gordian, which is their partner that does the construction task catalog, makes a lot of sense. We're generally a smaller city. We're generally not in, LA, Orange County, where there's a million contractors. We get the benefit because these things get bid out under indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity, which means that there is a bulk rate almost. We get the benefit of a bulk rate without being a bulk buyer. And we're able to complete those things that need to get done without a professional public works department that a lot of other cities enjoy. Frankly, it's an efficient, nimble, smart way to do the government's business. And we need to make this change to our ordinance to be able to participate. This program is used, job order contracting is used by numerous cities throughout the state. It's used by University of California. It's used by numerous school districts. It's used by this county. So it is one tool that we can use to accomplish what we need to get through our construction backlog. It's not the only way to do public works contracting. It's one way. And I think that, one of the first things that we'll work with the city manager's office in doing is simply developing what protocols we're going to put in place, when we're going to use this, and when we're going to go another way. So I hope that preempts a lot of questions. I hope it answers the questions that I'm sure are coming. But if you have any, feel free to ask.
Do council members have any questions?
Yeah, I have,
I do,
Okay.
I
yes.
have a couple.
Is this going to create a proprietary list of things that can be done? Is it going to eliminate any competitive bidding?
No, so when they utilize, so obviously we can use this for a bunch of other things, right? But in just looking at the job order contracting, they've already, our cooperative agreement partners have already competitively bid a lot of these tasks, and they do it on a rotating basis. They keep it up to date. So they go through all the trouble of doing all the competitive bidding and going through those procedures. And they do it in compliance not only with state law, but they also do it in compliance with state grant requirements and national and federal grant requirements. So you can also use these for CDBG projects and not worry that we missed one of the requirements, which can be hundreds of pages long.
Right.
So it's a way of having a larger vendor do this on a larger scale, but we get to benefit from that expertise.
So if it's a product and somebody has an equivalent, is that going to be acceptable then?
So, for example, if we were using it, if we were using the piggybacking to purchase,
I mean, are you tying it down to something that's already been purchased?
yes, so you're tying it down to something that has already been bid and a contract has already been entered by another government agency.
So that eliminates any competitive bidding on that particular
So I would say that
subject.
I would say the competitive bidding process has already gone through. You have the lowest responsible bidder for that task. And then we're simply not requiring that we do it again here. Right.
Okay, thank you.
And I do have, the state has a joint purchase process that municipalities can get involved with. Some of it's fire trucks, some of it is police cars, some of it is hardware.
Literally anything.
Anything. I mean, they've got a whole matter of fact, they've got salvage departments that sell used stuff. Is that going to be an additional channel for us in addition to this? Plus, the county also has a joint purchasing power that they do large purchases for stuff. Is that going to also be part of our arsenal?
Yeah, so we're basically expanding our ability to use large competitive bidding processes that other government agencies in our state have already done. Let me give you an example of maybe a service, right, which we currently are unable to do under our own code. One of the services that the state of California put out to bid and allows local agencies to piggyback on is cell phone service, right? So the cell phone companies, all of the major ones, put in competitive bid at competitive rates for use of their cell technologies. Now, that wasn't a big deal for us before, but now we're looking at starting a fire department. We're probably going to want to have cheap cell service for a lot of the data that's going to be being thrown around, right? And so it's the kind of thing where, you know, as we're going through all of these procurement processes that we're going to have to do as we start up a fire department, like, we don't want to have to go through an RFP for every single thing that we got to buy.
Sure.
Especially when it's already been put out by other government agencies recently.
So it streamlines it.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
And will likely save you money. Because remember, those bids that are coming in, they're at a bulk rate, right? Because they're looking at not just the city of Canyon Lake, they're looking at all of the agencies of California.
Technically, we're contracting them to be our purchasing agent. To
You
give
could-
us an
you could
option.
Look at it in a way.
Option of A, B, or C.
I would look at it as enabling us to join in a large purchase by other government agencies. And I think you're right when you're looking at it as a purchasing agent, because they do have to make sure that the competitive process they went through is compliant with all these different kinds of regulations, which is difficult for a small city to keep up with.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
Go ahead.
Councilmember Welty.
What percentage of governments use this type of system in California?
You know, I don't know off the top of my head a percentage. I can tell you that when I first heard of it, the first thing I did was look it up. So one, I can tell you this city's already a part of NJPA, Sourcewell, right? Because this city has already used cooperative purchasing for goods in the past. Now we're just expanding it. I can tell you that when I looked at the list of counties, it appeared that every county in at least Southern California is participating in job order contracting. A lot of school districts are doing the same thing. I think that the cities that I saw tended to be the larger cities. I know that San Francisco is using it. I know that Long Beach is using it. Those were two that I looked specifically because I wanted to see what their policies were as we develop ours here. So I wouldn't say this is like a fringe thing. I think maybe we're just kind of late to the party.
Pretty broad-based then.
Oh, yeah.
And it sounds like there's three of these, we can choose from three of these competitive bidding programs. That's, I get that impression.
We can, so I think the intent is to use our existing cooperative agreement through NJPA and their partner Gordian to use, again, what they call the easy ICQ process to begin a backlog of repair projects around the city. But no, we're not limited to using them. We can certainly make sure that we're getting the best option out there. I'd leave that to the city manager, of course.
And it sounds like if we decided to go out and do our own bids on something, we felt it was more appropriate, we could also do that. It's really, it gives the general manager a fair amount of choice on how he wants to bid a project.
Sure,
And
it's another tool. It isn't the only tool. I think if you were looking at maybe doing new construction or larger projects, you know, not just the sort of run-of-the-mill repetitive things, I think that, you know, you'd be looking at a standard design bid build process.
It sounds like a fairly established process.
It honestly, it's so straightforward and so many people were using it. I'm surprised we got questions about it. I blame myself. Maybe I should have laid it out more.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And Mayor Pro Tem Smith, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, give a shout out to our city manager, Chris Mann, and Bill Blankenship. They both came up with if you guys remember, my colleagues on council remember how difficult it was for us to get a bid on some work that we're trying to do on a property that we own for roofing construction. So it was a complete nightmare, so much so that we had to, Mike gave a presentation on it, that we had to say no to the bids that were sent to us. So this is a huge win, in my opinion, for Canyon Lake. And I just want to say thank you guys for, keeping your heads down and finding a solution for the problem that we're having, especially as we continue to grow in Canyon Lake with economic development. We're going to have more opportunities, in my opinion, to save money on future bids. So just thank you so much for sticking it out. And it looks like now we're going to have a solution to the problems that we had. So thank you.
And I would echo those comments. I think that's exactly my feeling as well. Madam Clerk, you mentioned there was public comment?
Yes, we have 2 public comments on this item. They're both a little long, so bear with me. Okay, we're going to start with an email that was sent to our city manager from the Construction Industry Force Account Council. And it says, the CIFAC is a construction industry supported organization dedicated to public contract code compliance and education. We do not represent specific contractors, but rather advocate on behalf of the construction industry to ensure compliance with the public contract code, fair bidding opportunities, and proper awarding of public contracts. We are concerned about the proposed ordinance discussion at the upcoming city council meeting and seeking clarification. The staff report states the ordinance is coming forward on an urgency basis because some of the upcoming projects include urgent repair to city buildings. CIFAC is proud to be an advocate for the construction industry, always seeking the best value for the public agency and protecting the laws and intent of the California Public Contract Code, and want to remind you of the accounting requirements of the California Uniform Cost Accounting Act, the CUCCAA. The question is it the intent of the city to procure the materials for upcoming projects and self-perform the work? Or does the city intend to formally or informally bid out the projects? Example, roof rehabilitation project at 3540-42 Railroad Canyon Road, bid number 2020-02. Agencies subject to CUCCAA are required to follow the Uniform Construction Cost Accounting Procedures as contained in the Cost Accounting Policies and Procedures Manual. Section 3.01, page 44 of the manual states, all cost elements, including personnel, materials, supplies, and subcontracts, equipment, and overhead associated with the project must be reported at the project level. Agencies may procure these elements separately. However, the cost of each element would be combined to determine the total cost of a project and the appropriate contracting procedure to use as outlined in Section 22032 of the Act. In short, for agencies signatory to CUCCAA, they cannot separate the components or segments of a project for the purpose of evading the legal thresholds. I look forward to hearing from you and thank you for your time and consideration.
Madam Mayor, would you mind if I respond to that briefly?
By all means.
I would direct the commenter from CFAC to CFAC's own website, which states, and I quote, "These procurement methods are legal in California. In regards to whether or not a job order, contracting, or JPA actually saves the money, that's a discussion that can be debated at another time." So.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, also, I did respond to the individual who sent that email this morning, got her voicemail, left a message, just answering her question and clarifying what it is we're doing with the ordinance.
Okay, and I believe the city attorney also did kind of preemptively answer those questions as well. And there was a second?
Yes, our next comment is going to be from Margaret Monson, and it says, Honorable Mayor and Council, on January 13th, 2021, the City Council adopted Resolution Number 2021-03 rejecting all bids for the roof rehabilitation project, bid number 2020-02, on a publicly bid project for city facility roof maintenance due to the high cost of the project. Bids were in the range of $228,225 to $321,900, nearly half the cost of what the building was purchased for. Staff recommended revising the bid package and going back out to public bid and returning to council at a later date. There were only 3 council members present to vote on this item at that meeting, and all voted in favor. Staff has proposed amending Urgency Ordinance 204 and adopting Ordinance 205, amending Section 3.08.270 of the Canyon Lake Municipal Code regarding competitive bidding. An introduction and first reading of Ordinance Number 205, amending Section 3.08.270 of the Canyon Lake Municipal Code regarding competitive bidding. The staff report refers to services and city-owned buildings. If the intention is to call a public work a service to avoid competitive public bidding on the roof repair of the recently purchased commercial building in the town center, I strongly object. The city has the obligation to publicly bid all construction and repairs to city-owned facilities, regardless of the nature of the construction or repair. The only service exempt from public bidding is janitorial service. All public works and public construction or repair projects are required to be registered with the Department of Industrial Relations and pay state or federal prevailing wages. These amendments to these ordinances have the appearance of attempting to skirt public contract code. I respectfully asked the council to clarify if these amended ordinances will or are intended to be applied to the roof repair or replacement of the city-owned commercial building. I urge the council to vote no should that be the case. Each time there is an emergency or a need to piggyback on another public agency's bid, that could and should be dealt with in specific cases and outlined specifically for the public in a staff report and a resolution. There should not exist a blanket ordinance to skirt the public contract code at will. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Did you want to address that?
Yes, I would. I'll start with the last point first. In order for this council to purchase things on a sole source or purchase things on a piggyback, you need to have an ordinance in place that allows you to do it. So if, for example, you said, I want to piggyback on this contract, if the ordinance didn't have the language in it, my advice to you would be you can't. You have to change the ordinance first. So I think just because we are creating the tool doesn't necessarily mean we're always going to use it. Again, this is a tool that is used widely by public agencies throughout the state. It makes a lot of sense for a smaller agency like the City of Canyon Lake to be able to piggyback on larger purchases made by counties and school districts that are much more business for the contractors who are coming in. And then lastly, I think I said this during my presentation, but simply because we are removing a prohibition in our own code that would allow us to access this procurement method, that doesn't mean that we are somehow exempt from state law. So we're still going to have to comply with all the requirements of the public contract code when it comes to public works projects.
Okay. Yeah, all right. Thank you. So based on that, I would need a motion and a second to approve urgency ordinance number 204.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Councilmember Aaron-Kranz? Aye. Councilmember Green?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Welty?
Aye.
Mayor Castillo?
Aye.
Motion carried to adopt urgency ordinance number 204.
I would also be asking for a motion and a second to approve the introduction and first reading of ordinance number 205.
Second.
Sorry, so moved.
And a roll call vote.
Councilmember Aaron-Kranz?
Aye.
Councilmember Green?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Welty?
Aye.
Mayor Castillo?
Aye.
Motion carried to approve the introduction and first reading of ordinance number 205, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Canyon Lake, California, amending Section 3.08.270 of the Canyon Lake Municipal Code regarding competitive bidding.
All right. So number 6 is my favorite. It is the 2021 City Council Goals Discussion and Possible Adoption of Proposed Goals. And I am excited because I think our city manager has an awesome presentation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So you may recall, we typically do this, go through this process of reviewing progress made on goals from the previous year and setting goals for the upcoming year every January. We had a couple of members of the council who were not able to attend the January meeting, and so we wanted to push this off till this meeting so that everyone could take part. Just by way of background, the purpose of the City Council's annual goal session is to clearly identify and adopt a list of agreed-upon priorities for the year. Once adopted, these goals will help guide the council and staff to ensure that time and other resources are allocated in a manner consistent with the council's shared vision for the city. A matrix reviewing the status of the City Council's previously adopted goals is also presented at each goal session as a way to track and measure progress. In no order of priority, 10 potential goals for 2021 are suggested for discussion and possible adoption. Before we start talking about goals, I think it's a good idea to remember what the established vision statement is for the city. And that statement reads, "The vision of the city of Canyon Lake is to be a city that provides a quality of life that makes Canyon Lake the premier place to live in Southern California." It's a little bit of a lofty vision, but I think given the building blocks that we have to work with here in Canyon Lake, it is certainly achievable. As a reminder, these are the goals that the City Council set in 2020. It's a good-sized list, 16 goals, and we will go through them. And as we go through the year, staff keeps a matrix tracking progress on each of those goals. And this is what the matrix looks like. This is actually the one from that was presented last year. As you can see, it's kind of hard to read on a screen in this format. And so what we're going to do is go through one by one. Each goal will have its own slide, and we'll talk about the progress that was made on each goal. So the first goal, goal number 1, was to address the budget deficit / public safety contracts. Those could be two separate goals. We included them as the same goal because they're so closely tied together. For many years, probably over a decade, the city struggled with budget deficits tied largely to the contracts for police and fire services. In February of 2020, which is when we did the mid-year report last year, the mid-year budget report and adjustments, the city's projected general fund budget deficit for fiscal year 1920 was about $830,000. Today, the city's budget is balanced. The general fund budget for fiscal year 2020-2021 shows a projected surplus of about $150,000. And this was achieved through, first of all, the establishment of several programs that enhance public safety and quality of life while also generating revenue for the city, such as the EMS subscription program, the residential rental registration program, and the fire life safety inspection program. Secondly, renegotiating our trash hauling agreement with CR&R, and thirdly, various cost-cutting measures. In all, city revenues were increased by almost 25%. I think it's worth noting that revenue was generated through fee-for-service programs, not by raising taxes.
Oh, yay.
But while the city's budget is now balanced, we understand that our contract with the county for the services of Riverside County Fire would continue to subject the city to significant cost increases beyond the city's control. So after extensive evaluation, which included a feasibility analysis conducted by ESCI, and numerous meetings with County Fire, the County Executive Office, County Supervisor's Office, and city council members, city managers, and fire chiefs of cities throughout the region, in November of 2020, the City Council voted to move forward with the formation of a City of Canyon Lake Fire Department. The goal is to be up and running by January 1st, 2022, and excitingly, you met our interim fire chief this evening. Goal number 2, implement EMS subscription program. An FAQ document was developed and a page on our website dedicated to the EMS subscription program was created. Notices were mailed to all property owners and residents in April 2020. A virtual town hall meeting was held on May 27, 2020. Fees were adopted June 3, 2020. Ultimately, the city received 286 opt-outs, meaning that we have 93% participation in the subscription program. The first disbursement of the EMS subscription program fees from the county, well, when I wrote this, I said is expected in January 2021. We have since received those fees, and the revenue projections are right on target. Goal 3 was to implement the residential rental program. The program was established with the adoption of Ordinance 192 on January 15th, 2020. Notices were mailed to all property owners in February of 2020. 189 properties registered by the early registration deadline, taking advantage of the 50% discount on the business license. Final notices were sent in September to properties without homeowners exemptions filed with the county. The deadline to avoid citation was October 15th, 2020. We have worked closely with the POA, who has agreed to forward lease authorization forms to the city on a monthly basis to help us track which properties are being rented. That process has started. Currently, 333 properties have been registered, 208 inspections have been completed, and 125 are waiting for inspections. This program has been impacted by COVID in that as we've experienced this spike in cases, we have put a halt to inspections. However, property owners are still required to register their properties and go through the whole process except for the inspection portion, which will be conducted at such time that it's safe to do so. Goal number 4 was to implement the Fire Life Safety Inspection Program. Code enforcement officers completed fire inspector and hazardous materials training. We addressed concerns that were raised at the time by the county fire chief. I should mention that's the previous county fire chief. And we established protocols with the fire marshal's office. We finalized the forms that are used for these inspections. Inspections began in July of 2020. To date, 60 inspections have been conducted, 50 are pending, and as with the residential rental program, COVID-19 has slowed progress on some of these inspections, but we will continue to get them done as we are able. To balance, we amended and restated our franchise agreement successfully. We successfully negotiated that with CR&R. It was adopted in June 2020. 3 notable changes. First of all, CR&R will conduct street sweeping twice a month on Railroad Canyon Road. CR&R will dedicate required time to ensure compliance with AB 939. And the franchise fee paid to the city by CR&R increased from 8% to 20% of gross revenues. This agreement has been in place. The original agreement was in place, I believe, since 1992. And that 8% franchise fee was the original fee when it was adopted. It hadn't been adjusted since then. And so it was time to modernize that contract. And that produced a significant revenue for the city's general fund. Goal number 6, move economic development initiatives forward, including the BLM land, the town center specific plan, identification of developable parcels, attracting new business, investments, etc. This is a big goal. Any one of these things could be their own goal. We've worked very closely with our economic development consultant, Bill Blankenship, to move a lot of these forward over the past year. On the BLM land, we held an all-agency stakeholder meeting in February of 2020. Agencies represented included the BLM, Riverside Conservation Authority, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, California Department of Fish and Wildlife, and Congressman Ken Calvert's office. Coming out of that meeting, the parcel we refer to as the Jump Lagoon parcel has tremendous development potential. The second BLM parcel within city limits is the piece in the northern part of our city by the North Lake, on both sides of the North Lake. A small portion, specifically the southeast portion of that parcel, might have some development potential, but it would be really an uphill battle to acquire that land from the BLM and to find acceptable land to swap into the MSHCP for that parcel. However, all of the agencies agreed that there is tremendous development potential in the on the parcel by what's referred to as the Jump Lagoon. It was also determined that really federal legislation is likely our best route there. The BLM has a long list of projects and priorities, and like a lot of other government agencies, they are understaffed. They have had direction over the past 4 years at least to prioritize energy projects, and so it could be a decade, it could be 2 decades before this project would get to the top of the list and be worked on in earnest by their staff. What changes that is if there is federal legislation giving them a timeline to get it done, which has been done successfully recently. There's a recent case in San Bernardino County where that worked successfully. So we are working with Congressman Ken Calvert's office on a strategy there. We have identified a development partner to work with on that land who will help to put together a plan that we can submit to the Congressman's office that he can sell to his colleagues in Congress. We have spent a lot of time looking for developable land in and around the city. We have attracted a potential development partner for possible projects on Railroad Canyon Road. For example, one developer might be interested in partnering with the city and the POA on a reconfiguration of the driving range, country club, and parking lot area. That might include what we refer to as the Village Overlay property and the Jump Lagoon BLM parcel. We held multiple meetings. We included the general manager of the POA and the POA president in a couple of those meetings. The developer remains interested and has put together a pro forma and is actively seeking to acquire mitigation land that would be required. We've worked to identify a vacant parcel with strategic value to the city and are currently in negotiations to purchase that parcel. We acquired grant funding and retained engineering and architectural firms for the development of a town center specific plan. In terms of investments, we acquired a building located at 31542 Railroad Canyon Road in March of 2020. We established positive relationships with existing tenants. The building is mostly leased. There's one vacant suite, which is being reserved for a pending lease agreement with AMR to keep ambulance services here in the town center. All tenants are paying rent and are current on their rents. Repairs to that building are needed. And we've talked about that. We're working diligently to try to get that done. And at the time that this report was written, we were in escrow of a building at 31520 Railroad Canyon Road. Since then, we have closed escrow and now own that building. Also, I'd like to point out that we have held several economic development roundtable meetings. Again, COVID intervened here, so we did not hold as many as normally we would have in 2020, but we did have several meetings that resulted in some pretty helpful discussions. Goal number 7 was to digitize files and move service to the cloud. We entered into an agreement with ECS Imaging for Laserfiche document digitization in February 2020. I'm not sure why digitization is such a hard word to say, but it is. Building department permits and plans, resolutions, ordinances, and minutes have been digitized thus far. Next up are finance documents, our agreements and contracts, and planning documents. Once we kind of get everything digitized that we have, this is going to be an ongoing process because we continue to produce new documents. So it'll be ongoing, but we're making really good progress on that. Also, migration of the service to the cloud was complete in June of 2020. Not only are our files more secure, but the contract with our new IT provider, Syntec, which includes the cloud server, is saving us about $662 per month over the contract with our previous IT provider, which did not include cloud service. Goal number 8, explore establishing a zip code specific to Canyon Lake. I believe this is the only goal on the list of 16 goals that I can't say, yep, we accomplished that this year. Although not for lack of trying. We did do quite a bit of work on it. We held multiple discussions with Congressman Ken Calvert's office, found that the United States Postal Service has been pushing back pretty hard on these requests for new zip codes. As an example, Eastvale, which has a population of 65,000, has been trying for almost 10 years, right after they incorporated. The Postal Service denied Eastvale in 2011. So then Representative Calvert introduced legislation for Eastvale in 2016 and again in 2020, both times failing to make it out of the House Committee on Oversight and Reform, which has been reluctant to advance any bills calling for new zip codes. Another example, in 2017, Harupa Valley, which has a population of 108,000, successfully petitioned USPS with the help of Congressman Mark Takano to be designated the primary or default city for a zip code they share with Riverside. So this is a zip code that existed already. Most of the geography within that zip code was in the city of Harupa Valley. Part of it was in Riverside, but for some reason Riverside had been, well, because Riverside's older, had been designated as the primary city for that zip code. They were successful in getting that switched so that Harupa Valley was listed as the primary, but it was not a new zip code that was created for them. And even then, it required intervention from their congressman. So here again, legislation seems to be our only avenue. Even though legislation has not been successful, hasn't even gotten out of committee so far, we may need to wait until new leadership exists on the House Committee on Oversight and Reform. We have a new administration coming in, so we might have a shakeup on some committees, and we'll just wait and see. We'll watch that, and if we think we see a window of opportunity to try again, we'll be ready to do so. Goal number 9 was to expand communications and public engagement efforts. In 2020, we added the management analyst position, responsible, among other things, for leading communications and public engagement efforts. We invested in equipment and software. We produced 11 informational videos in 2020. We held a virtual town hall meeting. We had virtual roundtable meetings and numerous committee meetings via Zoom. We enhanced our audio-video capabilities in these chambers. We expanded public outreach via email newsletter and social media platforms. We've had a 34% increase in the number of the city's Facebook followers. We're now over 1,900 followers. We established accounts that the city didn't have before, such as Instagram and Twitter, and currently have a little over 1,100 and about 73 followers respectively. It's probably gone up a little bit. These were numbers as of beginning of January. Goal number 10, protect water quality through compliance with MS4 permit requirements. We've done quite a bit of work in this area over 2020 and continuing today. To comply with the trash provisions adopted by the State Water Resources Control Board and enforced by the Santa Ana Regional Water Quality Control Board, the city completed and submitted a trash implementation plan in March. Trash capture devices were installed on all city storm drains in December. The city remained in compliance with all NPDES MS4 permit requirements. The city was represented by qualified water quality management NPDES engineers, Chris Hansen and Cameron Saber at NPDES MS4, Lake Elsinore, Canyon Lake TMDL Task Force, and Technical Advisory Committee meetings. All needed data was collected and all required reports were filed. WQMPs required of developments when applicable, and construction sites were inspected to ensure water quality compliance. This has become a much bigger part of what we do at the city. We've done a lot of work in general over the past couple of years in making sure the city is in compliance with state and federal regulations in a number of areas, but water quality is one of the most important. Not only is it important for residents here in Canyon Lake, obviously Canyon Lake is a drinking water reservoir, but frankly, penalties for not being in compliance can be very stiff. So for a number of reasons, it's important that we stay on top of these requirements, and I'm pleased to report that in 2020, we became fully in compliance with everything that's required of us. Goal number 11, complete housing element update. We completed the 5th cycle midterm general plan housing element update in 2020. The housing element was accepted by the California Department of Housing and Community Development in April. The city is now caught up. We're currently and fully compliant. Also, we secured $65,000 in LEAP grant funding, which will cover the city's entire cost of producing our 6th cycle general plan housing element update. The 6th cycle covers the 8-year planning period from October 15th, 2021 through October 15th, 2029. So we're just starting the process of getting this done, working with our city planner, Jim Morrissey, and our consultant, Ralph Castaneda. This LEAP grant funding will cover all of those costs. Once we're done, which we're hoping to wrap up by the end of this calendar year, might go into January, February of next year, but once we're done, we won't have to worry about housing element updates until 2029. Goal number 12, maintain positive relationship with the POA. The POA participated regularly in monthly roundtable meetings. I and the POA general manager have maintained regular communications, particularly through COVID-19 and the city and the POA's respective responses. I was very pleased with the level of communication that existed between the two of us. The POA's general manager and president were included in meetings with potential development partners. We held a joint staff meeting on October 29th to discuss several key issues of mutual interest. We coordinated on the general election, and we worked together to address numerous resident issues and nuisance properties that popped up throughout the year. I would say just generally that the relationship between the city and the POA is very good, very positive, and we look forward to continuing that moving forward. Goal 13, build positive regional relationships. So
Mr. City Manager,
Yes,
if
sir.
I may, on number 12, go back, maintaining positive relationships with the POA. I think we did that. We have a POA former, member right here. So I think, welcome aboard Dale. With all of his background and experience with the POA, I think he's going to bring a lot to this council moving forward and help implement that even more so. So I'm excited for that particular item that we tried to push.
Thank you. So in terms of building positive regional relationships, as the city manager, I participated virtually in Riverside County city manager meetings throughout the year. I participated in WRCOG technical advisory committee meetings. I attended the California City Management Foundation and League City Managers Department meetings in January and February. Had regular calls with our surrounding city managers, informed them of the status and progress on our fire department issue. We held meetings with Congressman Ken Calvert's office, Supervisor Kevin Jeffries' office and their staffs. We built positive relationships with our new county fire chief and with personnel at Riverside County Sheriff's Department, the Lake Elsinore Station. Put together an incredible interview panel for the interim fire chief position, which we talked about earlier. And also I'd like to point out that in terms of maintaining positive regional relationships, the job the city council has done on regional boards is a huge part of that. And I hear compliments now regularly from other city managers about the job that the council is doing representing the city of Canyon Lake on regional boards and commissions. You may recall that in 2019 and the beginning of 2020, we were starting to launch what we called the Diplomatic Outreach Program. And the goal was to systematically invite members, city council members and city managers and elected officials and staff throughout the region to come to Canyon Lake. As a gated community, very often our neighbors don't have a chance to come in and see the community and interact with us on a regular basis. It was one of the first things that was surprising to me when I came to work here, that how many people said, I've actually never been inside the gates. And so I think this diplomatic outreach program is going to be fantastic, but with COVID, we had to hit the pause button on that program, but we really look forward to restarting that in earnest when it's safe to do so. Goal number 14 was to establish an internship program. We launched a robust and all-encompassing internship program for college students in the fall of 2020. The program consists of a 10-week curriculum where interns learn about the basics of local government, its origins in California, and many of the issues local governments are attempting to address. One of the interns was assigned to the Code Enforcement Department, where they assisted with implementation of the residential rental program, as well as the everyday tasks related to code enforcement. 4 other interns were assigned to the administration office, where they assisted with processing deposits and payments, assembling city council meeting agendas, helping implement new initiatives like the EMS subscription program, and other administrative tasks. One standout former intern has been hired as the city's newest office specialist. And we just, I believe it was last week, started with our second class of interns. So I would say this program has already been a huge benefit to the city and to the interns who've participated, and we're just really proud of it and happy with it so far. Goal number 15, begin contemplating long-range visioning and strategic planning. We were able to secure $160,000 in SB2 planning grant funding. We went out to bid and retained Albert A. Webb Associates and WHA Architects to begin work on a town center specific plan. A kickoff meeting was held on December 17th, and we look forward to continuing work and completing work on that project. I would like to add that visioning and strategic planning is kind of a big umbrella. There's a lot that can go with that. And I think we know that at some point we really need to devote the time and resources to doing an entire general plan update and some bigger picture planning and visioning. Those processes are very expensive. It's not just putting the plan together, but you also have to do the environmental work that comes with that. I am looking forward to doing that. I'm not sure that I'm not sure it's something that we'll be able to get to in 2021, but I'm hoping possibly the following year we can get to that. And goal number 16 was to put on successful events, including Veterans Day, Winter Wonderland, the 30th anniversary gala / State of the City. So clearly, due to COVID-19 restrictions, the Winter Wonderland and 30th Anniversary Gala / State of the City events were canceled. However, the Veterans Day event was reimagined by the Veterans Day Committee as a golf cart parade and enhanced flyover. And I think you will all agree that the city received a very positive feedback. It was a great event. And we really look forward to being able to get back to putting on events in earnest. Hopefully, in 2021. You'll notice that our events are all kind of grouped towards the end of the year, beginning in November, so our hope is by then we'll be okay to have events again. So again, here's the list of city council goals that were set in 2020. Goal number 1, I think we can check off. We now have a balanced budget, and we're well on our way of starting our own fire department. Goal number 2, I think we can check off that we have implemented our EMS subscription program. I think we can check off number 3, implementation of the residential rental program. I think we can check off that we have implemented our life safety inspection program. We have completed the renegotiation of our trash hauling franchise agreement with CR&R. We've done an awful lot of work moving economic development initiatives forward. We have digitized files and have moved our servers to the cloud. We have not established a Canyon Lake zip code specific to Canyon Lake, but we have explored establishing a zip code specific to Canyon Lake, and we will continue to watch that opportunity. We have expanded communications and public engagement efforts. We've protected water quality through compliance with MS4 permit requirements. We've completed our housing element update. We've maintained positive relationships with the POA. We've built positive regional relationships. We've established an internship program. We have begun contemplating long-range visioning and strategic planning. And we did put on one heck of a Veterans Day event. Now, there was an awful lot that we did in 2020 that was not included on the city council goals. I'd like to touch on just some of the key items there. The first one has to be the COVID-19 response. I didn't even know how to begin writing this slide. This was all-consuming beginning in March of 2020, and just countless hours on the staff went into the COVID-19 response. And just when we thought we were on top of something, another curveball would come down from the state, and everyone would have to scramble, and we'd have to change directions. But when all this initially started on March 17th, and we got the emergency orders from the state, right away, city enforcement staff jumped into action. We posted notices on the business. We went into education mode to make sure that the community knew what was going on, what the regulations were. We enacted our own emergency regulations. We amended them, then we amended them again, and then we amended them again as the situation changed. We partnered with community volunteers to provide free masks to residents in need. We pushed out information via our Code Red emergency communication system. We created a dedicated page on the city's website, pushed out information in the city's newsletter, through videos and on social media. We secured $135,818 in CARES Act funding. And we're currently working with Cal OES on our application for FEMA reimbursement. We don't yet know exactly what that dollar amount will be or how long it will take to receive those funds, but it should be significant.
Can I add something to this?
Yes.
I want to say that part of our COVID-19 response also involved engaging the community members and businesses and trying to keep them open or modify their openings.
Yes.
And I want to say that I was very grateful to staff in terms of the level of support when we decided as a council that we were going to engage the business owners and send letters off to Gavin Newsom. So in addition to that, I think it's worth mentioning that the city at all times has been sympathetic to the business owners, where hands are tied in certain instances and in others we're not. And I think that that was something to be proud of.
Thank you. Yes. Agreed. And that goes very nicely to the next slide, which is supported local businesses. We held a virtual town hall meeting with business owners to talk about the impacts of COVID-19 and what we could do to communicate with the state and the county and what was allowed and wasn't allowed. We shared new information as it became available via an email list we put together of local businesses. We advocated at the county and state levels for our businesses to be allowed to fully reopen. We refrained from issuing citations to businesses not complying with state restrictions. We quickly made available temporary outdoor dining permits and then transitioned to a temporary outdoor business permit to include businesses beyond just restaurants. And those permits are available free of charge to businesses. We waived business license renewal fees for businesses adversely impacted by COVID-19. We utilized the city's social media and email newsletter to encourage residents to shop and dine in Canyon Lake. And we promoted local businesses by including them in the city's Veterans Day event. And some businesses were happy to participate and offered discounts to veterans on that day as part of that event. We implemented the military banner program. 24 banners were installed this year, 11 in April ahead of Memorial Day, and 13 in October in time for Veterans Day. 26 spaces on light poles remain in the city for placement of banners. All of the remaining spots are located in the town center, and the next installation will happen in April of this year. I noticed that we just started promoting that opportunity, so any residents who are interested, please contact the city clerk's office, and we will help you make sure that your loved one is prominently displayed on a banner in the city. Another accomplishment was the cannabis ordinance. We conducted a public opinion survey and contracted with HDL companies to draft a revised cannabis ordinance and a proposed application procedure. Per council direction, due to COVID-19, further movement on a possible revised cannabis ordinance is on hold until it's safe and legally permissible to have in-person public participation at city council meetings. We also appointed a city clerk in 2020. I'm not sure if that's really an accomplishment, but we did it. It's her.
It is for us.
Deputy City Clerk Anna Sauceda completed the Certified Municipal Clerk program, and she was promoted to the position of City Clerk. We renegotiated our agreement with RAMS, which is our CPA firm. Our finance director, Terry Shea, has remained on as our finance director under contract. And Kayla Lozano, who previously was a RAMS employee, was hired full-time as the city's accountant slash HR specialist. We acquired additional office space. We leased and furnished additional office space needed to accommodate our management analyst and accountant slash HR specialist positions. This freeing up the space also provided us with the space we needed to move forward with our new internship program. We completed the fence project on Railroad Canyon Road, the wrought iron fence project, which we have gotten quite a few compliments on. The entry monument signs in the median on Railroad Canyon Road have been repaired. One of them had to be replaced after a vehicle accident, and they've been repainted. We've transitioned from the Riverside County Sheriff's Department's Paris Station to the Lake Elsinore Station and launched the Citizen Volunteer Program here in Canyon Lake. Which brings us to setting goals for 2021.
There's one more accomplishment.
Yes,
We had a really good election,
we had a really good election. We did have a really good election. Record turnout in Canyon Lake.
and our city clerk was awesome.
She did well. Yes. It was a very unique year for elections, and yes. And it required a little creativity, a little pivoting, a little coordination, but it went very smoothly, and we had huge turnout. One of my favorite aspects of the election was the drive-up ballot drop, where people could drive up, literally not have to get out of their cars. We had a city easy up in the parking lot, and city staff would come out and bring the box, and people could just drop it right in the box right there from their cars. It was great. We may want to just keep doing that. Okay, well, anything on 2020 before we move on to 2021?
Awesome job, everyone.
Thank you.
Well done. Well done.
Okay, well, city staff have discussed internally what, from our perspective, we think priorities are moving into 2021. I know based on comments and discussions with members of the council, that there are items that are important to the council. And so this list that I'm about to post is our best stab at what we think those goals likely will be. I'll go through them one by one and then open it up for council discussion. We can certainly alter any of these goals, eliminate any of them, add ones that aren't here. We have a very heavy lift ahead of us this year with the formation of our fire department. In 2020, we had 16 goals. In 2019, we had 18 goals. I am hoping that we can limit the number of goals this year. I'll be presenting 10 suggested goals. I think that's probably a pretty good number. We just, with our limited staff size and resources, I feel we really need to stay focused on the few key goals for the year. So number one, in bold, establish the Canyon Lake Fire Department. Suggested goal number 2, draft and adopt a new personnel policy manual. Our existing manual is old. It's very outdated. There are a lot of things that we struggle with and frustrate us on a regular basis. We think the timing of this is important because we feel that we need to have a new manual in place prior to staffing up the fire department. So we suggest that we make this a priority and start working on it immediately so that we can have it in place actually prior to adopting our fiscal year 2021-22 budget in June.
Suggestion?
Yes.
Just as you go on that journey of development of the manual, surveying other cities, pull their manuals, especially cities our size, and pick the best of those that fit our stuff. Ones that have fire departments I'd recommend, because there's usually several sets of rules that go with both municipal employees and fire employees. So I think that would be the easiest to pull from others instead of trying to create our own. And get a template, and I think we'll have a successful manual.
That sounds great. Yeah, no, we've actually already started taking a look at some cities. I think it was it Rolling Hills or Rolling Hills Estates that we very similar in size to us. Yeah, that we've taken a look at. We really don't like paying our attorney, so we're going to try to copy someone else's as closely as possible. Maybe make a few tweaks to tailor it to us.
That's fine. The attorney doesn't like going to the finance committee to justify the bills. So I think we're all in agreement.
Good. The third suggested goal is to focus on improving building department operations and reduce costs. This has been an area that seems to be a continuing issue, always a work in progress. I think it's time that we really drill down and find a longer-term solution here that's going to save us money and also enhance the level of service the community is receiving from the building department. Fourth suggested goal, to complete the 6th cycle general plan housing element update. We're actually legally required to do that, so thought we'd put it on the goals list.
Goal to be in compliance.
Yes. Yeah. Suggested goal number 5 is to consider moving the council chambers upstairs following the library relocation. The first word in this goal is consider. I'm not suggesting that we, in setting these goals today, commit ourselves to doing that. I think it's something that we should evaluate, kind of get an idea of what the cost would be. We don't even know exactly when the library is going to leave. They've given us dates that have, slipped in the past. We're being told now it might be late spring, early summer. It may get pushed back beyond that. So the suggestion here is to start collecting information, start getting an idea of what we might want to do at some point, get an idea of costs, get an idea of if there's any grant funding out there to do some of the things we want to do, and evaluate, once we find out for sure when the library is going to leave. Suggested goal number 6, move economic development initiatives forward, including the BLM land, town center specific plan, identification of developable parcels, attracting new business, investments, et cetera. This is the same as the similar goal in 2020. We are in the middle of working on a lot of these projects, and I think we need to maintain them as priorities. Another carryover, we need to continue to protect water quality through compliance with MS4 permit requirements. This, of course, will be ongoing every year, but I think we still have some room to make some improvements this coming year in how we approach this. Historically, we've tried to do probably more of this in-house than we should to save a little bit of money. Anymore, you really have to be an engineer to understand a lot of this, and we're actually legally required to have qualified engineers representing the city at certain technical advisory committee meetings. There are reports that are due every year that we've put together. In the past, we've had enforcement department personnel who've spent a lot of time trying to put those reports together. I think it's time that we move towards formalizing an agreement with consultants to do that type of work to make sure that we're fully accurate and fully in compliance on a moving forward basis. Continue to expand communications and public engagement efforts. I think the city has come a long way in this area in 2020. One thing we really haven't been able to expand upon is in-person communication. We really haven't been able to do town hall meetings, focus groups, those sorts of things. And so my hope is that we can start to do those things again in 2021. I think we need to continue working on building and maintaining positive regional relationships. Again, we're hoping that we can relaunch the diplomatic outreach program and really build that program out. I think this is an especially important focus in a year when we're starting a fire department, to make sure that we've really been encouraged by the level of support we've received with our neighboring cities and the county and the county fire department up to this point, but it's just going to be really important that we maintain communication and let everybody know what we're doing, and hopefully we can keep that level of support and cooperation. And finally, I certainly hope we can put on some successful events this year, bring back our Winter Wonderland, have a great State of the City at the end of the year, and one that's not on here, which will happen either at the very end of this year or the very beginning of next year, or a combination of both, is the grand opening of our new fire department. The switch over when our new department takes over. So we probably should plan something around that as well. So with that, I'd like to turn it back over to the City Council for discussion on the proposed goals for 2021.
Jordan, did you want to start?
Oh, yes, I would just like to say I couldn't be more proud of what the council did last year and the year before that to get all these things done. It's just amazing. And I know this too, council is going to be able to do the same thing. With only 10 goals, we're not going to have much to do next year, I don't think. So I just want to say thanks to my fellow council members for all the hard work that they've done to put this together, and I'm certainly looking forward to accomplishing these goals in the future. So thank you all for your hard work.
Larry, do you have anything?
I think this is an ambitious goal year for us, in that it's only 10, but each of these have significant time, and number one, which is appropriately number one, is a giant task for all staff and us to keep managing, keep informed. I'm hoping that we can do a community outreaches that will give us kind of a progress on where we are and how we're doing, and so that we can take along the community with us on this journey, so that they're feeling ownership, to the point that I had mentioned to you the other day. We haven't designed a patch yet, or any of the badge hardware and all that can be generic, but a patch could be done via maybe a citizen outreach, that we have a program or a thing that they submit to our website that we can look at, evaluate for our fire department patch, that would be reflective of the community and yet put pride to the uniform. That's an identification. It's a badge. And so just a suggestion. But I want to thank the staff and council, because it's been an effort. It's not been just one-sided. It hasn't been just council. It hasn't been all staff. It's every one of us have contributed, and I think the results are the outcomes. That's the most important thing that we're doing, is how positive the outcomes and what have we done. And I think that this council and the previous council can be proud of our record and the accomplishments to come. So, job well done.
Dale?
Yeah, a couple things. One, under the personnel policy, make sure we get a good social media policy in that bundle. As we saw, social media is becoming more and more powerful, sometimes in a good way, sometimes in a bad way. But it's something that needs to have direction for the staff, for the fire department, needs to be included. The improved building operations, make sure we include networking with the POA. As you know, in our area, you don't get one permit, you get two. You got to get a POA permit, you've got to get a city permit, and for someone to sit in one office, get just about done and realize they have to start the other process all over again, is probably one of the biggest disservices we do to the community. So whatever we do on improving the building department, make sure we get a lot of integration, conversation with the POA, and make everybody's life much easier. My last comment is 9, build and maintain positive regional relationships. I like what it is, but I think we need to fill that one out a little more, have a little more direction to it. Not so much that we would wait to vote on it to approve it, but at least me personally, being new here, I would like to see, here are the regional relationships we need to work on, here's where they're located. I think your idea about inviting people here was great, but at some point, we could, not today, not in the next month, but at some point, especially when we can become more socially active, maybe some better, a little bit better guidance. And I appreciate that during COVID, it's very limited. So we hope to see that world change in the next couple of months, and the sun will come out and we can all return to a fairly normal life. So that's just my comments.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to say thank you so much for the last year. It's been incredible. I mean, despite COVID, it's pretty impressive that we can all sit up here and look at a list of 16 that we've been a part of, and it's just mind-blowing that even something as big as a pandemic didn't stop this city staff and council on implementing these programs. So I just want to say kudos to everyone involved, and Canyon Lakers out there who are watching or listening to this meeting should be proud of the community that they call home, because it's not only growing, but it's going in the right direction. In regards to our 2021 city council goals, I want to echo a little bit of what Councilmember Green talked about the importance of establishing the Canyon Lake Fire Department. I would be completely content if that was the only goal on the list. A lot of people out in the community probably don't understand the amount of work, time, and energy it is going to take our staff and this council to make decisions in doing something as significant as establishing its own department. I've seen firsthand of what it takes, and it's going to be a lot of hours. It's going to be a lot of time and energy just in that one goal. So the fact that we have a city staff, a city manager that is willing to add to that list, it makes me, I'm just amazed once again, because it's going to be a lot. And that goes to our new chief, and we understand that not only the dedication, but the work that's going to be asked of you this next year. And I just want you to know, for myself and my colleagues, you have the full support of this council in making sure that we can do everything we can to make this a reality, because my city manager will tell you, my colleagues on this council will tell you, I ran for city council because of this one goal. This was part of something that I've always dreamed of being a part of, and I'm so blessed that this council lets me serve on the subcommittee to establish our department, because this means so much to me. So you have my full support, you have my family's support. Whatever we can do to make your life easier here as we're undertaking such a big goal, by all means, anything you need. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Sure. And then I would just like to say, as to council goal number 6, if staff determines that ad hoc committees are necessary, I would say please let us know. I think there's quite a few council members who are specifically interested in economic development, and we're excited. So as to the goals in their entirety, I would love if your PowerPoint was posted on our website somehow, so that city residents who are interested in seeing what we've been doing and what we plan to do can find it easily. Okay. And then finally, a goal that I hold dear to my heart is I'm hoping that we can continue to facilitate our positive community relationships and outreach and interaction with our law enforcement and our fire. I'm so excited about the Explorer program. I'm so excited about the various contacts that our residents are having with our deputies and soon to be our fire. I think that there's been a really good and positive relationship in Canyon Lake with CAL FIRE. I don't want that to change with the new group. So that is a personal goal I have, and I think our council as a whole is big on supporting those who are first responders. And so I want to continue to make that central to our heart. With that being said, Madam Clerk, are there any public comments on this item?
We have no public comments.
If that is the case, then I need a motion and a second to approve our 2021 council goals.
So moved.
Motion.
I'll second.
Okay, and a roll call vote?
Councilmember Aaron Kranz,
Aye.
Councilmember Green,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Walty,
Aye.
Mayor Castillo.
Aye.
Motion carried to approve item number 6.
Mr. City Manager, do you have other comments?
I think I've commented about enough for one night. Just a couple real quick housekeeping items. We are planning a special city council meeting on Wednesday, February the 17th at 5 o'clock p.m. The purpose is to have our mid-year budget review and adjustments. We also plan on taking advantage of that, of having a meeting to add a couple of other items to the agenda. I see the city clerk trying to wave me down here.
Yes, if I can propose a change to the time, if the council would be open to 6 p.m. instead of 5 p.m. Would that be okay with everybody?
Good for me.
6 p.m.? Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure our finance director is available to attend, and 6 p.m. would work best for him.
Okay.
Okay, so the
Kinda need him.
17th at 6 p.m. And I will send a calendar invite. Thank you.
Okay.
So we will be adding, in addition to mid-year budget review and adjustments, a couple of other items on that agenda. Most notably, we do anticipate bringing our recommendation to the council for the lease of a Type 1 fire engine and a Type 6 fire engine. That'll be very exciting.
Okay.
And then we do have the next Canyon Lake Roundtable meeting on Tuesday of next week, which is February 9th at 8 a.m. via Zoom. And that's all I have this evening.
All right, so reminding council to keep it under 3 minutes. Council comments, starting with Councilmember Aaron Kranz.
Yes, thank you. It was pretty quiet for me last month, and the beginning of this month as well. I didn't have any meetings really of any substance. Our Vector meeting, I was did a little house cleaning, and I was appointed the chairman of the Vector Committee for the next year or so, so I may have some interesting stories to come, but not today. And our executive director, who's new to us last couple of months, his name is Mark Breedenbach, and he's the president-elect of the American Mosquito Control Association. And right now, he's out on reserve duty. He's serving his country as well as serving Vector. And he'll be back on the 10th of February. So we'll probably get things going again at that time. And I had a WRCOG meeting on Monday, and there really wasn't a whole lot that took place. Most of it was closed session, which obviously I can't talk a whole lot about, but it appears that the Renovate America, or the PACE program, has gone bankrupt. So that's not going to be, it isn't going to be available any longer. And evidently there was a lot of shoddy contractors, I guess you might say, that got people in trouble. They were signing contracts that they had no idea what they were signing. They were presented with these large bills. And WRCOG is trying to clean that up somewhat right now. But and they're putting together a list of contractors that are approved. so that this doesn't happen again. But this is still in the works for this particular time. And unfortunately, Rick Bishop, who is the general manager or the chairman of or the man in charge of WRCOG, is retiring. Retiring March the 1st, and I guess he and his wife have had a few health problems, and they thought that this would be a good time to perhaps go in a different direction. And coincidentally, as I was driving here tonight, I got a telephone call from a good friend of mine by the name of Jeff Stone, who is temporarily unemployed right now. And he is asking me if not just me, but he just wanted my opinion about applying for the job. He has served our county quite well, and he was a supervisor for many years, and he was chairman of the WRCOG. And told him, as far as I was concerned, certainly his credentials were impeccable. So I asked him if it was a secret, and he said, no, please announce it as quick as you can. So anybody wants to promote Jeff Stone for the job at WRCOG, I'm sure he'll appreciate it. And last but not least, just want to remind everybody, and I think you probably see it every day and every hour, to obey all the rules and the regulations that go along with this terrible pandemic that we have. I lost two good friends here in the last couple of weeks, and I'm sure all of you have had something that has touched at you as well personally. So as you can see, we're all hiding behind our masks, trying to obey the rules, and I suggest that we all do that because I don't think this is going to be over for a while. So please, everybody, stay safe and stay well, and thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Green?
Yes, I had two committee meetings, the RCA Executive Board on January 20th, and then the Board of Directors on February 1st. We are in the transition cutover for RCTC. The staff has, most of the staff, or 7 of the staff from RCA came over. The rest are open positions. They're in the process of recruiting now. They'll be naming the interim director. Ann Myers is doing a great job. We had a lot of discussion about the LDMF, which is the Local Development Mitigation Fee. For those that don't know, our 2020 Nexus study RCA did recommends a fee increase from $2,234 to $3,635, which fees for a single-family development now is $47,470. Those are fees that are attached to building a structure. That's not construction. That's just to get your permits. So there was a lot of discussion about that fee and how it to be passed through. The Nexus study is under discussion right now. Where there was a lot of comments that came in from the commercial sector, especially saying that they would be adversely impacted for development. One of the concerns right now is they feel that we're unfairly being priced out of the market in Riverside County compared to San Diego and Orange, which is currently less or would be less. The move to put a corridor on the I-15 of commercial and industrial has almost come to a stop. They cannot develop, cannot get interested developers to come in because just the cost of different things. So we're looking at different things of those adverse impacts, but yet to also manage the environment and the species, which is a big goal of the RCA and now also RCTC. So that's kind of it. Well, we've talked about policies and procedures. Our manual, RCA's manual is being rolled into RCTC's purchasing power and all that stuff's all been changed. We've come up with different policies for, believe it or not, the super bloom, which nobody really thinks about, but it adversely impacted a lot of different areas and agencies, meaning the city of Lake Elsinore, which a lot of it wasn't in their city, got impacted tremendously. and their cost, lots of cost. So the role of RCA will be to coordinate with all agencies, federal, state, and local, to facilitate how to properly, from law enforcement standpoint to fire standpoint, to how to control access through the CHP Caltrans District 6. There's a lot of players if that bloom ever comes back. So it may. We also talked about how the HANS process is used, and those are acronyms, which is the Habitat Acquisition Negotiation Strategy, and that's how we purchase property. And the last, we talked about the species of the month, which is the arroyo chub. It's endangered, it's in our waterways, and it's protected. That's it.
Well, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Smith? Well, according to my list, you're next.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A few things to report. It was a busy month, believe it or not, even with the holiday, several meetings. I don't want to bore everyone with all of them. I'll make it quick. One of the big projects that are coming up that was presented to me at one of my RTA T-Now meetings, and this doesn't impact us for a little bit, but we have a lot of Canyon Lakers that commute on the Ortega Highway. There's going to be construction. Again, this project is slated not till 2022, so next year. But it's going to be a full shutdown on Ortega Highway to rebuild a bridge replacement project. And for anyone who commutes out to Hemet, Strawberry Creek Bridge, which is up to 74, is also going to be slated for that same timeline. So just a couple projects to be aware of. In regards to RCTC, most of us are aware of the Railroad Inspection Project. That is, we're getting closer and closer. A few residents have reached out to me in regards to that project. If you go to RCTC's website, there's a nice map. It shows exactly where the project is at, how it's moving along. Most of us know because we see the construction that's being done. So it's moving along quite nicely. The other project to be aware of for my commuters that are going to Orange County, the 15 and the 91 toll road has been under construction in regards to expansion and making the lane safer. That's slated to be done any time now. So it'll be nice not to have some of that construction. In regards to our commuting transportation, we're back up to about 70 to 80% of capacity. I can't say the word. I can't talk either. Of people commuting to their job sites, especially from our city. So the roads are busy kind of once again. So if you're enjoying the not so traffic roads due to COVID, that's starting to sunset. So we're seeing a lot more commuters on the road. Lastly, I want to give a shout out to the hard work for the staff at RTA. Sadly, I do want to report that we lost a bus driver due to COVID. This particular gentleman, we're not allowed to identify the name due to security reasons and whatnot, but one of our coach drivers passed away just recently and this week, and had COVID back in December. So our prayers and thoughts go to the family members, not just to our bus drivers, but all of our first responders, everyone that's on the front lines during this pandemic. We're so blessed to have each and every one of you out there working hard during this scary time. And lastly, I was just appointed chair for Budget and Finance for RTA, so I'm very blessed that my colleagues saw me fit to lead that group. So exciting times for 2021. Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's all I have to report.
Councilmember Welty?
All right, I'd like to thank the staff and the council and the citizens for getting me here. You guys have all been great. The staff's taking me and training me to become a great councilman. I was able to attend the League of Cities training for a couple of days over the last 2 weeks. It was excellent. I haven't started my committees, but I should be starting them up next month. I had a little COVID event at the house. My one of the children came over and they just took one, and there we were. It's a terrifying experience. I've been sicker, but it just was endless. It was just day after day after day. I was on day 10 and still getting worse. And I just looked at the people dying, and I go, I can see this, because if you don't ever get better, eventually you're going to die. But the good news, obviously, is we turned the corner. My family's all doing great. They tell me I'm in a position where I have a little immunity, and I'm not going to give it to anybody, so I feel a little bit like Superman. But despite all that, they say, you don't know, you never know what's going on. Carry on all the basic rules and keep your mask on, your social distancing. So please do all that. I believe we're close to turning the corner on this. As we know, the outside restaurants have opened. So take advantage to our local businesses. It's reasonably COVID safe if you sit appropriately to go outside and have a nice meal, get our businesses going. The vaccinations are going. I think they're at 177,000 in Riverside, and they seem to be increasing the number every day. So if you're someone who believes in the vaccinations, I know it's a little bit of a struggle, but let's get them done, especially the elderly and the people that are likely to really be succumbed by this disease. Let's get them immunized. Our hospitals will be able to open back up normally that way. Again, the weather's, I always like to say, the sun is coming. We're going to have the sunshine, the nice weather, and I'm going to find myself a restaurant and with a nice patio view, and I'm going to sit and have a couple good meals soon. So please, I want to encourage everybody in the community to do the same thing. There we go.
Outstanding. So again, I just want to say, Citizen of the Month, Sabrina Alt, was unable to be here, but it's people like Sabrina who improve the quality of life in Canyon Lake. So if you see Sabrina Alt or you know her on social media, make sure to congratulate her. I did learn that our first honoree, Reese Walsh, was just recognized by the city of Lake Elsinore. So obviously we pick amazing people in the city of Canyon Lake. And if you do have someone you would like to submit for Citizen of the Month, please email media@canyonlakeca.gov. We are taking suggestions. There's obviously so many amazing people in Canyon Lake, so please send us thoughts on who should be our next Citizen of the Month. This month I was able to sit in on Student of the Month for the Lake Elsinore School District, which was just mind-blowing. These high school students who are making such academic strides during a pandemic, it's just, they're warriors. And I was so impressed. Unfortunately, I cannot attend this month, and I believe Jordan's going to sit in for me. But wow, what a great experience, and I look forward to continuing to be part of that. I do know, in speaking with our administrative services manager, that we should have some updates on potential work on Railroad Canyon coming soon, so stick around and look for updates on that. And I'd like to echo what Dale said. Our Canyon Lake businesses are opening back up. No time like the present to support them. And I'm grateful for those that were able to be creative enough to stick around. So lots going on in the city of Canyon Lake. Super exciting. Any other comments or anything? Okay, well, in terms of announcements, our next regular meeting will be Wednesday, March 3rd. We do have the special meeting on February 17th. 5 o'clock for a regular session for the regular meeting, 6:30 p.m. for open session. I said regular session? I meant closed session. And we are adjourned at 8:48.